Hi, Daniel.
Adam, hi.
Hi. Team news then first. What's the prognosis on Patrick Bamford now you've had a time to assess the hamstring injury, please?
Yes, sadly, I have to confirm it's a bit more of a serious injury. So he has suffered a hamstring injury in the Blackburn game when he was involved. And it's a hamstring injury. He will be out more or less in total for 4 weeks. It could last a few more days. It could be perhaps even a bit quicker, depending on the rehab. Yeah, meanwhile, it's already 8 days ago. So means there is a small chance that in the end of January he's back in team training. Perhaps even a few days later we will see. So overall the assessment was with this injury he will be out for 4 weeks, so in total 3 more weeks at least.
That's bad news, but it does beg the question now, A, about Joe Gelhardt's immediate future at Leeds, and also, is this going to mean a move in the market, though? Because that's a big risk not to have a senior striker, isn't it?
Yeah, so we will see it in general. We had many good news also in the last days. I have to say that Joel Pirot is also struggling with a few muscular problems, so we won't risk him at the weekend. So he won't be involved in the game against Harrogate. That's what I can confirm. But apart from this, many good news. Junior Firpo since Tuesday back in team training. That's definitely a big boost for us. Ilya Gruev also since this week after his long-term injury. Back in team training, that's a big boost for us. Also, Pascal Struijk today was the first time back with the team, also available. At the moment, I have more or less just a bit 2 concerns. One is definitely the injury of Patrick Bamford. I hope his rehab process will be positive so that we can return perhaps even in January back to team training. That would be, of course, beneficial. Yes, and the second, the ongoing knee problems with Max Wöber. Also during this week, he had to rest and was not able to train yesterday. Today, we had a session with less load. He was then back in team training, but every time after a bit longer appearance, he seems to struggle a bit with his knee. These are more or less at the moment the only 2 concerns. So Patrick and also Max, and this is more or less the status. Also like what we do. In January in this period. Overall, for me, important that Ethan is back after his injury and also seems to be pretty stable. Important to have Junior back, to have Ilya Gruev back. So this means, in general, we can perhaps afford to think also about 1 or 2 players to send them out on loan, to give them some game time, a bit younger players for their development. It makes sense. We'll discuss this at the moment internally because we can afford it due to this situation. That's definitely something we are aware of. And on the other hand, we just have to assess how the rehab of Patrick will progress and also what happens in terms of Max. But apart from this, these are more or less my only 2 concerns. Overall, we are in a pretty good position, and I expect a very quiet January.
Yeah, I suppose if a senior striker though is missing though, Daniel, and it gets to the end of January, then you don't want to be looking like you're panic buying if you do need somebody to come in, because that does leave you short, no matter what way you look at it, doesn't it? It leaves you very short.
Yes, of course. We have Joel Pirot, we've got Matteo Joseph, we've got a few young prospects already in our academy, and also perhaps a player like Willy Gnonto could also play striker. So we're not in panic mode, but it's definitely a position we should be aware of what happens during January right now. Again, I hope that Patrick's rehab will progress good, but we also have to say he was struggling with a few injuries over the season already, and for that, yes, we have to be aware a bit on this position. That's definitely a fact, so we won't fall asleep till the end of January, yes.
How have you managed with Illan Meslier this week? Have you had any sort of one-to-one with him in particular? Have you had more time with him than you would do normally after last weekend?
Yes, of course. I think after such a game, normally you leave the player also for 2 or 3 days a bit alone in order, yes, also to suffer a little bit and to get on with the situation. But then we had also a chat about the situation. I think that's also my responsibility then also to have a chat and to hear his view about especially the second goal anyhow and this the situation. And of course we had a chat, yes.
Is there anything you can make public about that? Is he okay? Or are you expecting to make a change this weekend?
Yes, overall, it's definitely a fact that Carl will play this FA Cup game. We've always planned this because it was a busy schedule, and also for Illan, it's good to have a little rest, especially after you have to say poor game against Hull. It's also good to recharge a little bit. He was one of the just a few players who have played each and every second in this festive period, and Carl is an experienced player. He also needs and deserves a game, and was always the plan to play him in the FA Cup and give Illan a little rest. That's definitely a fact. But I know we are in general also like, of course, then after a game everyone is annoyed and disappointed and angry and emotional. So was I, if I'm honest. When the ball went in, the second goal, I was also angry and annoyed in this moment. But it's never possible to lead a massive and emotional club like Leeds United in panic mode. It's at least not how I lead the club. So I always try to lead the club more or less. My approach is always a good balance out of two things. The first thing is always an honest assessment, and also like not to let the standard drop. And if I'm unhappy or not happy with some performances or something what I see on the pitch, also to address it, and consequent and pretty honest, and also open to speak about it. That's quite important. And the second, then still also to trust and to back my players. And this is also more or less the approach with Illan. The first thing is, I think it's also fair to say that he had a poor game against Hull. Was definitely a decisive mistake, the second goal, and of course it was not his big mistake, but I think he could have also done better in the first and the third goal. Of course, the big mistake was the first goal. Our positioning in the last row, we opened the gate, so we have never give away a cheaper counter attack, a cheaper goal like this. I told you straight away after the game, but I think if he stays in the box, then he has at least a chance to repair the mistakes from the last row. So overall, it was definitely a poor performance. I also have to say, in general, there were a few games where he could have and should have done better a bit during the season. Of course, there was this, whatever you want to call it, strange and unlucky Sunderland game when the ball went into this divot and the ball went in somehow. Still struggling to label it as a mistake, but with a bit more awareness level anyhow. I think perhaps he could have been there and saved the situation. And there were perhaps also one or two strikes during the whole season when a player of his caliber, where you would expect, okay, he can perhaps even save it when he's on the top of his game. So overall, I think it's a fair assessment. I also spoke with Illan about this, that although he had many clean sheets and also many good saves and many good games, but he can show this with more consistency. And there were one or two games where he definitely could have done better. I think it's always important to be honest and to be open about this. But on the other hand, then also like still not to forget what we've got. We've got a 24-year-old young man who is also quite self-critical. And also when I spoke with him, Illan was the first one to admit, because his standard is more or less the highest standard, and he always wants to be at the top of his game. And himself, he was pretty disappointed with his last performance. And I like when a player is pretty self-critical. And then we also must not forget, we have a 24-year-old young man who is since years right now. He came more or less as a teenager and was always and is always loyal to the club. Also in a situation when there was a lot of interest in him, it was easy for him perhaps also to leave after relegation. No, he stuck to the club because he wanted to pay something back, and also to pay some trust back. And we have a 24-year-old goalkeeper who is highly rated in the football world, with double figures in terms of millions anyhow, and it's no coincidence. And he is there in his CV with more than 200 games already for us as a club, and already more than 100 Premier League games. So I want to see one goalkeeper in his age with his CV already. Named as the best goalkeeper in the Championship last season. He was in the Team of the Year, not named by us, by a neutral panel. And also his performances were also good enough to make sure that we're top of the league right now. He's there with 14 clean sheets, and also many good saves. Am I 100% happy with his performance during the season? No, I think he can show more consistency in this games. But overall, he's one of our own, and it's also important in this moments. Also then, to speak honest about what he can improve, but also to back him, because I've signed here a contract for as a manager for Leeds United, not for Leeds Divided, and I think it's also important when. I was angry after the last game, yes, and we all were a bit angry, and Illan himself was angry, and also like our supporters have all the right also to be critical with him, and it's fair, and it's self-inflicted, and Illan has to get on with it, and it comes always along with a bit pressure and whatever. That's quite normal. Yeah, we're working in a tough business, and he has to handle and to accept it. But I also got the feeling from the outside world, some pundits, some comments were pretty disrespectful for his CV and what he has done also for this club so far. And then it's also like I will always be there in order to back my players, because you got sometimes the feeling, the outside world, they love to try to divide us or to make sure that the old song is Leeds is falling apart, and no, we are pretty close together. And we back our players, and would be a sign of madness right now to think about a change or whatever. So it's more like we would be the only club in the whole history of football who is sitting top of the table after 60% of all the games are played, who is there 8 games unbeaten, who is there with a perfect festive period. We have won more points than any other club in this league in this festive period. And then we panic about our number one, who is highly regarded, was in the team of the season last season. We were not happy with the last game. We are overall, I think he can improve his consistency. He's still a young player, but I think it's important also to address this. Yes, and of course he has to also step up in the next weeks and the upcoming weeks. But his performances were good enough to make sure that we are top of league, and right now we head more or less into the crunch time period of the season, and I'm pretty sure, and we are all fully convinced that Illan in this crucial moments will deliver even more and better and more consistent performances, and we all back him, and if the outside world hopes that we will crumble or whatever, it won't happen, and for that no panic mode at all. We are top of the league. Illan is a really, really good goalkeeper. Has not shown this in the last game, but we are all pretty sure that he will prove this also in the upcoming weeks.
Thank you for that. Daniel, so finally for me, Harrogate Town, not having the greatest of time at the moment. You have played them in pre-season. How difficult is the balance between bringing players back in that might be injured or making a few changes, but making sure you win the tie?
Yes, obviously, in the cup game, always in the cup competition, everything is always possible. We see many upsets and many surprising results. For that, you never can take it for granted that the favorite always goes through into the next round. And for that, we have to be respectful. We will perhaps rotate a bit more than we would do for a league game. But one thing is also for sure, we want to go through into the next round, and this is also what we need to show, especially in the home game in front of our excited supporters. It's always a bit difficult because for them it's probably the game of the season and they will be quite excited, and for us it's a bit like, let's be honest, not the biggest highlight game, but nevertheless it's another important game, and we want to go through into the next round. We still have the experience out of the pre-season game. We had a really strong lineup on the pitch, even with Georgie Rutter, with Chris Somerville and whatever. It was still a tough and tight game, and for that I know it. So they will make it difficult and will defend with their lives and also try to be good on the counter-attack and cause some problems. So if we allow ourselves to start in the game a bit like we start into the Hull game with a few percent less, then it's also difficult to go into the next round. So we need to find a good balance between not risking any injured players like Joel Pirot, for example, also to rotate a bit more, but also to have a strong starting lineup on the pitch that has a chance to go into the next round, and we want to grab this chance and want to go through. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, Daniel. You mentioned there 1 or 2 younger players could go out on loan. Would Joe Gelhardt be one of those players, or given Patrick's injury, would you look to put that on hold for now?
No, I won't do any name dropping today in general. I think to go out and on just makes sense for some younger players who had not that much game time, and where it's also important for their development to play with on a regular base. Yes, Joffrey is definitely also one of the candidates because he didn't play that much. But who will then in the end go out? Will take the decision in the upcoming days and the upcoming couple of weeks, and then we make some decisions. What is beneficial for us, not for other clubs, but it will definitely not be a player who is a lot involved in the last week. So for that, you can expect one of the younger players who hasn't played that much, that perhaps 1 or 2 will send them out on loan. Not 4 or 5, that wouldn't be healthy for us because we have a pretty small group anyway. But perhaps on 1 or 2 positions, it definitely makes sense, and we'll take some decisions in the upcoming days.
Simon Weaver, the Harrogate manager, has described this as a magical game for them, and he's talked about a lot of his players living in Leeds and a lot of the Leeds players and staff living in Harrogate. Has it given this game an extra edge for you and your staff?
Not an extra edge, but we know also it's a big game also for all the people around. There will be also many Harrogate supporters around. I'm pretty sure they also support us anyhow because it's quite often connected. And overall, I have to say that Simon's doing a perfect job over there. So what he's done over the last years, I think he's the longest serving manager on even the whole EFL, I think, at the moment. So well done for this. And there are a few connections with our academy product. Exactly, their club captain is right now also out with injury. Of course, for them it's more or less a game of the season, and they will try to play their heart out. But yeah, we want to make sure that just their extra motivation is not enough in order to beat us at Elland Road. And for that, yes, we want to be switched on, but it will be, I expect, a pretty friendly atmosphere anyhow, and we're looking forward to see also some familiar faces around. But yes, when the game is then really like the referee blows into his whistle, then we also want to be competitive and want to win this game, and I'm sure they will also try everything. We're all looking forward to have this game.
Thank you.
Hi Daniel, can you explain why you're content to have a quiet January? You've described yourself previously as a pessimistic realist, so why are you not asking for more?
First of all, because several of the really long-term injured players are right now back, and it's also important right now. We have Junior Firpo back, we've got Ilya Gruev back, we've got Isna Padu, thank God, back. I was not sure before, after long-term injury, you want to have the first look anyhow. What happens? Are they stable? Is there perhaps a re-injury? And I was a bit careful and also carefully pessimistic, if I'm honest, in the recent weeks. But right now, Ethan seems to be really close to back to his best already. That's good. Also, Ilya looks good in training. Junior looks good, and it's also important. Competition and options are always good for a manager to have. But if you have too many options and the group is too big, it could also divide the whole group. So sometimes if you have too many players around who are not needed or don't have game time, it's not good for the spirit and the vibe within the group. So we have a perfect togetherness and perfect unity, and I think this is also one of the secrets why we are more or less the team who has won more points than any other team in the festive period. Yeah, why we also found solutions, although so many key players were injured in the last weeks. And if these players are right now back, and I would add additionally 4 or 5 more of the key players, you could also pretty easily risk a little bit the good atmosphere and the spirit and the fighting spirit. And my experience is also the spirit within the group and the togetherness and the unity is quite often more important when it comes to the crunch time than just the quality, and we don't want to risk it. And the next point is also we are the best team in this league so far. We are sitting top of the table, and then to overdo things also makes no sense. Again, we won't fall asleep. We have 1 or 2 positions where we will stay awake, and yes, of course, if there would be in the next 2 or 3 weeks a new injury or something like this, then we would also change the plans. But as it stands at the moment, I would say I expect a relatively quite January. Yes, just apart from the 1 or 2 positions that I've mentioned.
Can you let us into a little secret about how it works then in terms of staying awake? Are you constantly being sent profiles, names, data, videos of potential targets? Is the club saying to you, do you want to do this? Or have you decided as a club, we know who we could go and get if we need them? How does it work?
Well, the first thing is always to speak about, okay, on which positions we should be a bit more awake than on other positions. I mentioned also like what we spoke about before. I think then also to be proactive a bit more, like with the recruitment, with the scouting, also with our network, with our connection to check, okay, what is possible. And in general, also like to stay awake. And if right now in January there is a player who makes us better on a special position, I would never say no. But also the experience is, if in January a player is available, there is quite often a difficult situation. Either he is overpriced and you have to spend an unbelievable amount of money, and we want to work sustainable as a club. Or the second is more like he's coming from a long-term injury or is not there with rhythm. So whatever. Midfield positions right now, we have Ampadu back, we've got Gruev back, we've got Giavogi, we've got Tanaka, we've got Roswell. I'm totally happy. If you offer me tomorrow, whatever, Jude Bellingham wants to come to us, I wouldn't say no. I would do this. There's no doubt about this. Or whatever centre-back positions, I'm totally happy at the moment. So we have many good performance. Yeah, but if Virgil van Dijk wants to join us tomorrow, I would say, yeah, come on, let's explore it. But in January, it never happens that this quality players are there. So there's always like, you get the player who is perhaps out for 3 months, and then you think, okay, till he's fit and till he can really help yourself, then more or less the season is already over. So for that, in January, I'm always a bit more careful than in comparison to the summer. But yeah, if there is perhaps one or two positions where you are a bit weaker due to an injury or perhaps a quality problem anyhow, I think then it's also important to stay a bit more awake, and then also like, yes, to speak with our key people if we can afford also to spend some money anyhow, and then obviously and I'm also relying on, okay, we have the money in order to be able to spend. But again, it's also difficult to improve our squad right now because we have already a pretty good group, and to find a top player with a top character who's also affordable is difficult, and I'm always living in a reality surrounding, and I don't ask for something that is simply not possible. But if there is, out of coincidence or out of a special situation, perhaps even a bargain where you have the feeling, okay, this could be the right decision, then we'll also stay awake. That's definitely for sure.
Hi Daniel, we know this is the last chance to change the squad before the run-in, as it were. Have the ownership raised any questions about, could we do this differently, Daniel, or could we strengthen in this position? Do they have that kind of conversation with you, or is it entirely just to leave it to Daniel?
Well, they trust me, and they know also who they have signed as a manager, and I always lead also the club in the way that I take the decision. Otherwise, I wouldn't sign a contract. So that's definitely for sure. But I think it's also important to be open to communicate. So in nowadays, it's not a one-man show anymore, like a manager would have done perhaps 20 or 30 years ago. For that, this business and the whole network is too big, and otherwise I wouldn't be top in my job if I don't also like trust also some specialists in some areas anyhow. That's also quite important, and for me it's also like important. I don't want to reign like a king and don't explain my decisions. I'm consistently talking also to our key people, and not that we can afford to do each and every day a round table and discuss, and then it's more like what do we do in the end? I have to decide, and I will decide, but also to listen, to hear their opinions, and also to explain and to speak about, okay, what can we improve, not just in terms of bringing players in, but in general, what can we improve, whatever, when it's about things, training ground, stadium, whatever. So we have a pretty trustful connection. This was also one of the reasons why I signed, because in our communication with Parag, with Angus, they've totally convinced me that you are all on one page, and that I can totally trust them, and I have their full backing when it comes to decisions. And we are one group, and if we are successful, then we are definitely successful with each other. And I wouldn't take the glory just for the manager myself. So I'm just a little piece in the whole project of Leeds United, and for that, yes, of course, I'm also talking and explaining, and also asking some question, and we are consistently trying to improve this club. Yes, of course, in the January, even a bit more focus perhaps on players, but we never lose also what we want to achieve in mid and long term, and for that, yes, we talk with each other.
Have you effectively told Joffrey it's a case of waiting to see how Patrick's injury is, and then we'll make a decision later in the month? Is that as simple as it is?
No, because I have a pretty honest and open relationship with Joffrey, and made several times the point how much I rate him, and I know so that's tough for him because, of course, he's a top character and has his qualities. The problem is just the competition in the squad. Yeah? In the moment, you can't back or support all 4 strikers, for example, in the same way. I've preferred to stick a bit more with Joao Pirou and Matteo Joseph, and also with Patrick, and a bit the same on the other positions. Joffrey can also feature as a winger, for example. Yes, but we had also proper competition with Mano, with Daniel James, with Laji Ramazani and Willy Gnonto. So I know it's tough for him because he works his socks off more or less in each and every training session and shows a good character. And it was also no coincidence that he was in the squad the last time. So for that, he knows that I also trust him, but his behavior is also unbelievably professional, and for that I also totally understand if he is at least willing to overthink it, if it makes sense, perhaps also like to get a bit more game time, at least for a few months for a different club. And I've allowed him also like to have some conversations, and once he has the thought, okay, it's the best for him, then he can knock at my door and we can speak about it. But it has not happened so far that he has made a decision that he wants to leave, and let's see how things will develop over the next days.
Thank you, everyone.
Good. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.